Well, US President Donald Trump has lashed out at Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and his allies, Russia and Iran, over a suspected chemical attack, saying there'll be a big price to pay. The UN Security Council is expected to discuss the crisis today. Both Syria and Russia deny a chemical attack that took place and have reached an evacuation deal with the rebels. Pope Francis has deplored the gas attack reported in Syria as an unjustifiable use of instruments of extermination. At the end of a mass in St. Peter's Square, the pontiff said that nothing can justify the use of instruments of extermination on people and populations. He also urged that military and political leaders to choose the path of negotiations that can bring about peace and not death and destruction. The leader of the world's 1.2 billion Roman Catholics was speaking after a chemical attack on a rebel-held town in eastern Ghouta that killed more than 70 people on Saturday. A US senator has warned social media giant Facebook, raising concern that the privacy issue is too big for Facebook to fix. When asked if lawmakers need to seek regulations on Facebook, the Republican Senator Kennedy replied, "It may be the case." Facebook Chief Executive Mark Zuckerberg will appear before the US Senate Commerce and Judiciary Committees on Tuesday to address questions about how his company handles its users' data. While US President Donald Trump has predicted that China would take down its trade barriers, expressing optimism despite escalating trade tensions between the world's two largest economies that have roiled global markets in the past week. US and China have so far threatened each other with tens of billions of dollars worth of tariffs in recent days, and Chinese officials have said that this is not the time for negotiations. But Trump administration officials have stressed that the tariffs are not yet in place and the dispute could be resolved through talks. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres met China's President Xi Jinping and other Chinese leaders. Guterres said globalization is irreversible amid escalating tensions between the United States and China over trade tariffs. Acknowledging the possible drawbacks of globalization on such as inequalities during a meeting with China's Premier Guterres said that with positive attitude of openness and reform and international cooperation, we can overcome those difficulties. Millions of French commuters and holidaymakers faced another wave of crippling transport stoppages as rail workers protested against President Emmanuel Macron's economic reform plans. Some unions even warned that they could step up strike action. Disruptions hit local trains as well as regional high-speed trains and some international journeys. Train staff last week kicked off 3 months of nationwide rolling strikes in a dispute over the government's planned overhaul of state-run rail firm SNCF. This has proved to be the biggest challenge yet to Macron's attempts to modernize the French economy. One killed and dozens have been injured in overnight clashes between the UN peacekeeping mission, Central Africa Republic and armed militia calling themselves the Self-Defense Forces, who control a Muslim district of the capital Bangui known as the PK5. A UN spokesman said 11 soldiers from MINUSCA, United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in the Central African Republic, were wounded, and around 20 more civilian and militia were wounded during an operation in which the UN tried to dismantle roadblocks set up by the armed groups who control the PK5. German police said that they detained several people in Berlin who they suspected of planning a crime linked to Sunday's half marathon. According to reports, one of the suspected was planning a knife attack at the popular event. Berlin police said in a statement that they had detained suspects aged between 18 and 21 after searches in the districts of Charlottenburg, Wilmersdorf and Neukölln in the capital. They said they did not say how many people they detained. German police raided the homes of suspected members of a far-right group in Berlin and in the states of Brandenburg and Thuringia. The Federal Prosecutor's Office said in a statement that the homes of 8 people suspected of founding a far-right terrorist group were searched in the raids. The investigators believe the suspects are members of the Reich group, the group that did not recognize modern-day Germany as a legitimate state. Now, hardened by years of rocket attacks from next-door Gaza, residents of this frontline Israeli village seemed unmoved by Palestinians' mass demonstrations at the border and Israelis' deadly response to them. Confrontations on each of the last 2 Fridays have been clearly visible from Nahal, a kibbutz just 100 meters from the frontier. 29 Palestinians have been killed since the protests began on March 30th along the frontier of the Gaza Strip. The demonstrations have been dubbed the Great March of Return of refugees and their descendants to ancestral homes now in Israel. Hungary's right-wing PM Viktor Orban has won his 3rd term in office, ensuring a crushing win for his right-wing coalition. He is expected to win a supermajority, with preliminary results showing that his KDNP alliance on course to win 133 seats out of 199. Opposition parties were left disappointed after a high turnout failed to favor them. Now, Gabor Bona of the far-right Jobbik party, which came in 2nd place, has announced that he would resign. A Yemeni rights group protested in Paris against Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's visit to France. Around 20 protesters unfurled Yemeni flags near the Eiffel Tower, denouncing Saudi Arabia's role in the Yemen conflict. Protesters said that the Saudi government was largely responsible for deaths and the humanitarian crisis in a conflict that has killed more than 10,000 people and displaced more than 3 million. Fishermen who support Britain's exit from the European Union set sail protesting against Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit transition deal, which they say has betrayed the fishing industry. As part of the transition deal announced in March, Britain agreed to remain within the EU's common fisheries policy for around 20 months after Britain's exit on March 29, 2019. Europe imports about 75% of Britain's fishing catch. Britain wants to allow foreign ships to fish in its waters after Brexit, but also to decide for itself the extent of that access. 24 Russians were affected by the new United States sanctions imposed on Friday. It is one of Washington's most aggressive moves to punish Moscow for what it called a range of malign activity, including alleged meddling in the 2016 U.S. election. Now, the action, taken under pressure from the U.S. Congress, freezes the U.S. assets of oligarchs such as aluminium tycoon Oleg Deripaska, a close associate of Putin, and lawmaker Suleiman Kerimov, whose family controls Russia's largest gold producer, Polyus. Former Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont is set to leave the prison in the German town of Neumünster, where he has been held since last month. He had to pay a bail bond of 75,000 euros. The former Catalan leader was arrested on a Spanish-issued arrest warrant as he entered Germany. A German court has said that his extradition to Spain was possible on a charge of misuse of public funds, but not on the charge of rebellion for his role in the campaign for Catalonia's independence. Now, Pakistan has summoned the U.S. ambassador to protest against a fatal traffic accident involving an American diplomatic vehicle in Islamabad. The U.S. Embassy has said it was cooperating in the investigation. Security camera footage handed to the media by Islamabad police showed a white car hitting a motorbike at an intersection and the bikers flying into the air and hitting the pavement. Now, Japan has signed a grant and loan agreement with Cambodia worth $90 million. The pact was signed despite concerns from the international community over Prime Minister Hun Sen's crackdown on government critics ahead of a July general election. During a meeting with Hun Sen on Sunday, Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs said that Japan would help Cambodia to become an upper-middle income country by 2030. Chinese President Xi Jinping visited Austrian President Alexander Van der Bellen with a welcome ceremony in Beijing's Great Hall of the People. Van der Bellen, accompanied by Austrian Chancellor Sebastian Kurz, is on a state visit to China till April 12. Well, Xi and Van der Bellen took part in bilateral talks and a signing ceremony. Both the leaders are scheduled to attend the WION Forum for Asia Annual Conference, which is being held in Hainan Province from April 8th to 11th. The United Nations Refugee Panel has called for the world's attention on the plight of Burundian refugees in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Multiple crises are spiraling out of control in the Central African nation after President Joseph Kabila's refusal to step down at the end of his elected mandate in 2016. Now, over 30 million Congolese need humanitarian aid, twice as many as last year, and 7.7 million face severe food shortage. Now, Britain's Prince Charles enjoyed a church service in Australia's Queensland before unveiling the latest addition to the Royal Flying Doctor Service. The apparent heir to the British throne launched the Outback Angel plane into service at an unveiling ceremony at the Cairns Royal Flying Doctor Service base to help celebrate its 90th year. Prince Charles, who officially opened the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games on Wednesday, also attended a women's basketball game on Sunday between Australia and India. Now, the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, which ended decades of armed sectarian conflict in the British province, is set to reach its 20th anniversary on Tuesday. British troops were sent to Northern Ireland in 1969 to help quell unrest between the majority Protestant population loyal to the British Crown and Catholics striving for a united Ireland. The bitter conflict involved bombings, killings and attacks by both sides, and more than 3,600 people were killed. Workers in popular tourist hub in Philippines, Boracay, appealed for aid after President Rodrigo Duterte announced closure of the holiday island. Duterte has recently described the island, which generated over $1 billion last year, as a cesspool due to its poor sewage system and erring business establishments, and ordered it closed for 6 months starting April 26th. One of 7,300 Philippine islands, it hosts 1,800 businesses including global hotel chains and other companies. Now, an all-party conference was held in Pakistan's Gilgit-Baltistan demanding immediate release of over 50 jailed Uyghur women who they claim have been implicated on false charges of terrorism by China. These women have been arrested from China's Xinjiang province, which shares very close geographical proximity to Gilgit-Baltistan. Many Uyghur women are married to Gilgit-Baltistan locals. Now, their husbands say that the arrests have destroyed their family life. As protests intensify over the sharing of River Kaveri's water in southern India, superstars turned politicians Rajnikant and Kamal Hassan today joined the agitators in Tamil Nadu. Along with actors like Dhanush, Vijay, Surya, Satyaraj and Sivakumar, the actors joined the protesters in lashing out against the government and the delay in setting up of the Kaveri Management Board as directed by the Supreme Court. A serious accident was averted at Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport on Sunday night when the wing of a Jet Airways craft hit a catering truck on the tarmac. The plane was carrying 133 passengers on board. No one was injured due to the incident. The Jet Airways flight came from Dubai and was moving to the parking bay at Terminal 3 at the time of the accident. A remote village in Indian state of Chhattisgarh state regained electricity after the power infrastructure in the area was reportedly destroyed by Maoists 15 years ago. Chintalnar village in Sukma district is an isolated borough in the heart of Maoist-infected area. It has a population of around 500 to 600 people who had been living in the dark for the past 15 years. A special court of the Central Bureau of Investigation has issued non-bailable warrants against jewelers Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi, who are central figures in an alleged $2 billion scam at the state-run Punjab National Bank. Reports say the CBI is now also questioning some officials at the overseas branches of Indian banks which issued loans to companies owned by the two jewelers against bank guarantees. Two-wheeler loans witnessed an impressive 32% growth in 2017, led by non-bank leaders, and Gujarat had the highest incidence of non-payments by the borrowers. The Thane district on the northern fringe of the Mumbai metropolitan area had the highest asset quality stress in the segment. A recently released data has said, from the perspective of market share, the proportion of NBFCs grew up to 67% from the 60% level 2 years ago. At a time China is facing one of the biggest crises in its global trade history, China's foreign exchange reserves rose slightly in March as broad US dollar weakness continued. China's reserves rose $9 billion in March to $3.143 trillion, compared with a drop of $27 billion in February. Capital flight was seen as a major risk for China at the start of 2017, but a combination of tighter capital controls and a faltering dollar helped the yuan stage a strong turnaround, bolstering confidence in the economy. Now let's take you through some stories from the world of sport. We start with the results from the Commonwealth Games. India bagged a 1-2 podium finish with teen shooting sensation Manu Bhaker winning gold in the 10-meter air pistol event. The 16-year-old shot a record score of 240.9 in the finals to become the youngest medalist at the Games. Bhaker finished 6 points ahead of Hina Sidhu, who bagged silver. Australia's Elina Galiabovic took the bronze. India's domination in weightlifting continued as Poonam Yadav became the 5th weightlifter to win gold at the Games with victory in the women's 69 kg category. 22-year-old Yadav, a silver medal at the 2017 Commonwealth Championships, went one better at the 2018 Games with a combined lift of 222 kgs to finish 4 kilograms ahead of the England silver medalist Sarah Davis. Now moving to team events. The Indian women's team clinched its first ever table tennis gold medal at the Games by upsetting 4-time defending champion Singapore. Manika Batra scripted the historic win by stunning world number 4 Fang Tianwei in the opener and then completing the victory by thrashing Zhou Yan in the reverse singles after Mouma Das and Madhurika Patkar had won the doubles tie. In badminton, favorites India are guaranteed a medal in the mixed team event after booking their place in the final with a 3-1 win over Singapore. But routine wins for world number 2 Kidambi Srikanth, World Championships bronze medalist Saina Nehwal and the mixed doubles pair of Satvik Rankireddy and Ashwini Ponnappa helped set up a summit clash with 3-time defending champions Malaysia.